Welcome back, everyone, to the complete Pineleaf. For last time, Gandalf spoke of a darkness arriving, but before we speak to him, at the end of the last episode, I received a new cyan mastery. This is a mastery cooldown, and it so happens that I already have mastery cooldown, but I have a purple version of it, so I think it's a nice time to promote it up a little bit. So now I have that improved. So I think that was a nice one to get. And that's what I got for finishing up the Veils of Anduin part of the Black Book of Mordor. But of course, there's still more to it here because there was a little bit of an interlude, and I think that's what Gandalf has for me now.
A darkness has settled upon the Vales of Anduin. Can you not feel it?
The Bjornings and the woodsmen have made homes for themselves among the hills and trees. They are not strangers to the press of the shadow, but of late it has become deeper. Elrond's household will stay for a time at the Bjorninghus before continuing on to Gondor for the wedding of his daughter Arwen. While they remain in the Vales of Anduin, they will rely upon the hospitality of Grimbeorn, Lord of the Bjornings. Speak with Grimbeorn and learn if he has noticed anything untoward among the Vales. I doubt not that he will welcome any attempt to make safe his land and that of his neighbors. Yes, I am sure that he will be thrilled with the prospect. Fine, I will go and speak to Grimbeorn, who more often than not lives up to the grim part of his name.
My scouts report seeing strange lights among the fetid pools of the Gladden Fields.
Gandalf speaks of a darkness that has settled upon the Vales of Anduin. I've felt it too, but the lands of my people will not be threatened as soon as will others. My scouts report seeing strange lights among the fetid pools of the Gladden Fields, and some have heard a woman's song keening in the still air. It has always been a strange place, home to shades and spirits, but of late these reports have become more frequent. Has something changed? I can't say, and will not, but I will face it with tooth and claw if I must. That has always been my way. So what do we need?
The woodmen live nigh to the Gladden Fields. They will be the first affected.
I did not fight to defend the woodsmen so recently in the old ford for them to succumb to a new danger so soon afterwards. Go to Hootfist at Wood's Edge and find someone who might know what happened to disturb shades and spirits formerly at rest. One of their hunters may know. Speak with one of them. All right, yes, I suppose one of their hunters may know. All right, back to Hootfeast. Maybe Ulrich will know.
Can it be?
In my heart I hoped that you would return, but I fear to send word, and in any event I didn't know how to reach you. But for you to arrive at this moment, I dared not hope for it, even at my lowest point. My son Badwila is a hunter, as am I. We were hunting in the west bank of the river, not far from Avabard, when we were surprised by a party of orcs. That's not unusual in these dark days, and as our custom, we split up in order to frustrate their pursuit. Badwila knows to return to Hootfist when it is safe, but I've not seen him. Do you think you could look for my son? It may be that the orcs of Vavabark proved too wily for him to escape, and he may be held in their fort on the island. Slay the orcs there, and if you still do not see any sign of him, proceed further south into the Gladden Fields. We heard tell of shades and colored lights amongst the pools, and while I forbade him from seeking them, he may have been drawn in that direction after escaping from the orcs. Please, There is no one else to whom I can turn. Alright, very well. I'll go to Avabark and I will kill a few orcs and see if I see any sign of your son. Now that we're here, let's see if we could deal with some of these orcs. Hey! Thank you for turning your back on me! Saved me some trouble. It's nice to have such well-mannered opponents that are willingly to give their life for me to complete my quest. I didn't find any clues at the orcs, so I thought maybe I will go and check out the shades and see if they know anything. Or they could provide clues, or if I find him anywhere around here. Nope, 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 no jumping underground, please. It's rude. Well, I guess me going in trying to... Actually, maybe it's not, because we are trying to put these spirits to rest, right? Now, do these count as shades? Most likely not. I suspect they just count as the Raffin or something like that. But actually, according to the tooltip, they do count. Well then, that's a bonus. There you go. Now let's see if I can find a few more. I haven't found any clues yet, so I'm going to try one more before I try to think of some other plan. As I do have one more to kill for another quest too. Hey. No jumping in. Here we go. Let's just get rid of that one. Finally, that's out of them. Now, I hear a faint noise calling from the northwestern reaches. Alright, let's go to the northwest and see what this voice is about. I believe the voice came from somewhere down this way. The question is, whose voice is it and why? Well, there are more shades here. Maybe it came from one of the shades. In which case I'm on a wild shade cave. Oh, hold on. I see someone up ahead. First, there's a hunter there, it looks like. Well, I'll check out the hunter as soon as this little spirit is dealt with. There you go. If you killed this many orcs while getting injured, you're pretty good.
I think the orcs were trying to take me alive.
Did my father send you to me? We were separated, and I couldn't get back to the village. I think the orcs were trying to take me alive. That is the only reason I still live. Look what the orcs got for their trouble. Death. Death came for them. It was a terrifying spirit, a shade of evil countenance. It descended upon them and killed them all. It's a wonder it did not kill me too. So, apparently the shade doesn't like orcs very much. Either that or it didn't notice you. So what happened?
It was a man, so it must have been in life.
It put me in a mind of tales of the people tell of Vagari the Wanderer, the spectre that stalks the vales. Do you know the story? It is said that he appears in the mist from time to time, but few have seen him with certainty, and none have gotten near enough to hear him speak. Maharu Winterhair, the Northman, followed Vagari for a time, but he was missing for a year, and when he returned, he remembered little of his experience. Nay, it is not just this orc wound that terrifies me. I said the shade reminded me of the tales of Vagari the Wanderer, and it does, save one difference. As it approached, I felt an overwhelming sensation of hatred, not just for the orcs, but for all living things, and I spoke without breath. It slew every orc, chanting in the terrible voice, and I heard it would slay me as well were it to pay me any heed. But I feigned death, and it did not notice me. Had it done so, this orc wound would be the least of my troubles, and you would have only a corpse to bear back to my father. Well then, interesting. Okay, what do I do now? I can't carry you to Hootvis myself, so I'm gonna go get some help from a wizard. Gandalf?
Have you learned more about the darkness that has settled upon the Vales?
Oh, yes, that. It could be related to a spirit that I just heard a report about. I cannot tell what you think about this story, Pineleaf. Is it your belief that Bodwilla, that the shade he encountered, is the same as that encountered by Mahiru Winterhair, the one called Vagari the Woodman? The Gladden Fields have seen such death and tragedy over the years, and the woodmen have long reported mysterious lights and unsettling voices in the marshes. It would not surprise me to learn that this is a second shade, as filled with rage as the first is benign. The aura of hatred that Bodwili described reminds me of the dread that accompanied Sauron's most powerful servants, the Nazgûl. But Sauron is gone, and the Nazgûl with him. This spectre must be something else, and indeed, let us be thankful for that. In point of fact, I believe I chanced upon this very shade during my travels long ago, and thought it gone, never to return. I will tell you of that encounter, but first, I ask that you go outside and speak with Master Elrond. I would like to know what he thinks of Bodwilla's story, for he is counted highly amongst the wise, and I greatly value his opinion and to reach of his knowledge. Alright, fine. I will speak to Elrond about this. Hello, sir. Gandalf would like to get your opinion regarding a shade that's wandering around here.
The enemy is gone, but the things he set in motion may not yet have dissipated.
This tale that you weave is of great interest to me, Pineleaf, but I'm afraid I can provide little insight that Gandalf does not already possess. Save this. Perhaps shades linger most often in furtherance of an oath they swore in life. For a shade of such hatred to remain in this world may indicate that it served some terrible power. The enemy is gone, but the things he set into motion may not yet have dissipated. Whether there be one shade or two at work in the Vales of Anduin, I advise you exercise caution. Whatever may be the truth of it, stories can change over the years. Who can say what the original kernel may have been? Vagari the Wanderer may mean no harm to woodsmen or to Beornings, or to those who travel in these lands. But remember that even in the original story, Marharu Winterhair was taken from his home for a year and returned greatly changed. Ill intent or no, his life was altered by the encounter, and I should judge not for the better. I miss my library, Pineleaf. If only I had access to my books, I might say more. But this will have to do. Return to Gandalf and tell him this. I know what the wizard believes Vagari the Wanderer to be, and I caution him that it may not be so. Beware. Beware. What? Beware of what? Goodness gracious, one's more cryptic than the other. Elrond said to beware. Of your beliefs, that is.
I told you I encountered this shade long ago, and it is true.
I accept Master Elrond's warning, but it does not dissuade me from wishing to learn more about Vagari the Wanderer, and neither should it discourage you. I told you that I encountered this shade long ago, and it is true. I walked these lands for many years, watching the trials of men and elves, and lending my aid wherever I deemed it necessary. It was some time after the Battle of Parth Celebrant and the departure of the Eotheod that I walked by the side of the Anduin, pondering who would now defend the woodsmen against the ravages of orcs and the Misty Mountains. Then it was that I saw this very shade. I would have let it be, Pineleaf, had it not spoken. But it called me by a curious name, a name that I had never heard before, and it drew me on. I pursued the shade into the swamp, and even from so great a distance I could feel the intense aura of his hatred. This spirit could not have been, and I knew that in the Eotheod's absence such a hateful presence would endanger the woodsman. I cast a spell of banishment upon the shade, and it vanished. I believed it had gone for good, but now it has returned. I know not why. Now this is interesting. He says that it called him by a name he didn't know. This then is another piece of foreshadowing for what happens in the closing parts of the Black Book of Mordor. I just never thought of it before because you're wondering, okay, so what? But that is actually more important than I thought the first time I went through here. All right, well, how about that? So what do you guys say about it?
That is enough for now.
I will continue to think about this, but I ask that you conduct a search throughout the Gladden fields for signs of this mysterious presence. If Badwila's account can be trusted, as I think it can, you may find some clues about the Shade's motivations and places where the orcs and half-orcs gathered. Search too on Tol Send, the Isle of Flowers, and amongst the mounds of Tún Melen. You are certain to find lesser shades amongst the fields as you search these places. I've run into plenty of those already. Whether they are drawn here by the presence of the Wanderer or not, they pose a danger to the warm-blooded folk of the Vales, and you should defeat them if you can. I've defeated a few already. It is my hope that your search will reveal why Vagari has returned to this place. If we were to learn that, we might learn much else that can be used to us. So I need to defeat 10 shades in the Gladden Fields and to search for Tol Send, for Sharky Slough, Loodstroke, and Tún Melen. In other words, all over the place. This is going to be a great deal of searching, so I am going to start that in the next episode of The Complete Pineleaf.